Hi, I'm Marc Silber. I'm an author, photographer, and educator here in Carmel, California. And I'm starting a new series, which is I'm going to give you composition case studies of some famous photographs and famous photographers. We're going to break them down. And this should help you take a look at your own work and see how you can use these tools. So I want to introduce you to, if you're not already familiar with him, a great photographer, Arnold Newman. I'm drawing from this book, his masterclass, and you'll see a link to it in the description. It's a book you should own, by the way. Arnold Newman is the one who the term environmental portraiture was coined after. Whether he used that term or not, others talked about his work in terms of photographing in the subject's environment, not so much in a studio. Now, when you photograph in their environment, you're getting the full flavor of that person. His photographs were about the person, and he really wanted to bring out who they are, their character. Their surroundings tell a lot about them. So we're going to take a look at one series of photographs by a very famous composer, Igor Stravinsky. And I'm going to show you this contact sheet. It's pretty amazing. We'll zero in on some of these. And it's interesting to see that Arnold went through this process of selection. But I want to point out something right off the cuff here. We're going to bust this idea, this myth busting that I love to do about the rule of thirds, some sort of rule or law. You will not find present in here any place where he is following this rule, because it isn't a rule, it's a guideline. And it often doesn't work. And you'll see as we go through here, this is not how he composed. So Arnold, first of all, he started on the upper left here. Interesting. He put a check mark. This seems to be his method of, that one's pretty good. This one's really good. And this one's kind of in the middle. And the ones with no check, kind of not so much. So he has another subject, two people. It's interesting how he framed Stravinsky in the piano. I love that. That's really cool. But this other subject does sort of lead your eye off. And it's sort of like, who is she? Next one, now we're really framing just on Stravinsky and the piano keyboard. Interesting, but it doesn't really pop, does it? Because you're kind of left wondering what's going on here. He's just playing the piano. I don't feel the character coming out in that selection there, that image. And this one's interesting. He liked that one a lot. Now we have Stravinsky really by himself, white wall, a lot of white space, negative space, and just sort of the edge of the piano. I mean, that's kind of interesting, though. You can see why he put the three check marks. And it's funny that this one he X'd out, so he didn't like that one. I think it's kind of cool because we're using triangular composition here, which is mirrored by the piano itself and the stand, but Stravinsky's arms are really forming a triangle. Triangular composition is a really cool tool that can help you show strength. That's something Rembrandt used, for instance, in a lot of his paintings. Whenever you find a triangular shape, you can use it in your composition. And he used it again over here. You like this one a little bit better, but it still wasn't really firing on all cylinders yet. This is another interesting one. To me, it doesn't tell the story. Like, if you just saw the photograph and you didn't know who Stravinsky was, I don't know what I would think. I might think, this is a guy who owned a grand piano. I don't know that I would necessarily go, wow, he's a composer. And that just pops right out of the image. And then over here, another one checker. I'm not crazy about that one. He does kind of get lost in the cover of the piano here. I think that's a little bit of a competition in terms of form. This one's pretty cool. but he X'd it out. I mean, he didn't like that. We're kind of dealing with this gray wall and the white wall, which does sort of conflict a little bit. You know, one thing about composition is you want to cleanly lead your eye and the viewer's eye to where you want them to go. So I can see why he X'd that out. It's a little, you know, there's too many things going on, too many elements. Less is definitely more in composition. This one has a single check, kind of getting in there. You can see he's grooving into this idea here, where he's going, you know, showing a lot of the piano, and there's Stravinsky back here. Same one. This didn't really resonate, obviously, I agree. So this stand is really kind of obviously crossing right over his body. That's not great. We're getting there. So this next one, Stravinsky's kind of leaning forward a little bit. I can see why this wasn't like a 3-check one. It's kind of getting there, though. This one, we're getting real close, you know, and his final image, look at this, folks. Final image, you can see the cropping marks on it. So we're going to crop out all this other stuff. And what we end up with is what you see here in full frame in his book, Masterclass. I think this is a brilliant photograph. What makes it work so well is the fact that Stravinsky, this magnanimous being, composer, very striking and strong person, is just really a tiny portion of the whole image in the lower left corner. That should blow away anybody's idea of this rule of thirds as being a really senior composition point. This is the rule of nothing. This is just how Arnold captured that subject. And I think it's just absolutely brilliant. Look at all the negative space, the black space of the piano, the white and gray behind Stravinsky. It's almost all negative space. So what does that do to him, to the subject? It really makes him pop out. Those are my thoughts. Again, I love environmental portraiture. I love Arnold Newman. Try these points out for yourself because they're really powerful points. Less is definitely more. Look where your subject is. Frame them using negative space. Try all these different points, you know, and he didn't get it right the first time. Don't be afraid to fire your camera many times until you'll know it. And that was his last frame. He knew it. It was like, okay, that's it, folks. There's Igor. One thing I want to invite you to do is get my free download of my composition field guide. You can take this and put it in your phone and carry it around with you as you're photographing, as reminders. It's got 15 different compositional tools that you should put to use. You can find that right up here and in the description. So grab that and put it to use. Okay, I hope this helped. And I'd love to hear your comments. Please leave your comments down here and give me your likes. If you feel this is useful, please share it. And please subscribe because I'm going to be giving you a series of these composition case studies. So tune in and keep following up. And most importantly, use them yourself. You got to translate what you just saw to your own photography. And on that note, remember to get out and capture your own images of life.